Hi, my name is Nicholas. Welcome to this week's Yin practice. For today's practice, a bolster will likely be handy, and that's pretty much it. If you like to have a blanket or a soft block or anything else around, then go for it. And I'll invite you to get started on the back. We'll get started in a restorative fish shape. So if you want to lie the bolster down lengthwise on the mat, and then you can come to sit in front of it, and we'll lower the spine down onto the prop. So your version of this shape, and if you're using a pillow instead of a bolster, if it happens to be like really plump, then you may need something to support the head, or if you're using something that's shorter or anything like that, just make sure that the whole spine feels supported here. And then see what you want to do with the legs. You can have them extended, you could have the knees bent, maybe knees resting together. You could also do the reverse, so like a butterfly expression. And if you're choosing butterfly, then maybe prop the knees, or you can do fists with the hands somewhere under the hips. Whatever you're choosing, take a moment to get settled in, to get comfortable. And if it feels okay to close down the eyes, go for it. And start to check in here. And only when you feel ready to move again. If you have butterfly legs, you might reach down and help the knees back together. And then roll off onto one side wherever you have the most room. And then stay on your side for a moment. You can move the bolster out of the way. You can rest the head on the bicep, or you can prop the head up if you like. We'll extend the legs long, and then we'll bend the top knee for a quad stretch. So if this feels wobbly, bend the bottom knee as well. And see about hugging the left heel towards the bum any amount. And then imagine that you could breathe to that front line of the leg through the hip flexor and quad. So when you're ready, you release it. Roll onto the back, and then we'll roll onto the opposite side to set up the second quad stretch. So make your way onto the left any way you like to get there. And make sure that the spine, the head, the neck feel comfortable. And we'll bend the right knee, right heel towards the bum any amount. Notice what you're feeling through that whole right leg, especially through the top of it, through the hip flexor. Awesome. And then when you're ready, release this side as well. And then from your side, make your way up to a seat, any way you like to get there. We'll set up the left leg out in front, so left shin roughly parallel to the short edge of the mat, and then right leg roughly parallel to the long edge of the mat. And then if you have your bolster nearby, then one suggestion is to take it underneath that right hip, so hip to knee, you can support that. That might be the most supportive version, especially if you have knee stuff going on. Another option, which is what I'm going to do today, is to bring the shin onto the prop instead. And again, make sure that knee, hip, low back, everything feels steady here. And then don't worry too much about the shape that you're making. So if it feels better to bring the heels in closer to the body, if that just feels more stable or more supportive for you, go for it. If it feels okay to keep them a little more open, then go for that. So turn the chest towards that front leg and then see where you want to fold from. Maybe the knee feels a little better, maybe the shin, maybe the ankle. So just experiment here, see what feels like the better option. And then I'll let you know when we're about halfway through the shape in case you want to take a second option or change it up a little bit. About halfway through, so if you want to change it at all, then go for it. Also listen to your body. If it's letting you know that you should come out of the shape altogether sooner, then that's fine too. And if you need a little more time here, feel free to stay. Otherwise, any way you like, start to make your way back up. If you're using the pillow, you might move that out of the way. Just windshield wiper the knees side to side a couple of times to release the legs. And then when you're ready, we'll set up the second side. So this time, right shin mostly parallel to the right edge of the mat, or the top edge. And then left shin mostly parallel to the side edge of the mat. Bolster if you used it on the first side. And then see if this side you need it under the hip, then go for that. Otherwise, under the shin. And check in with your angles and see what feels best for the body. And again, check in, see if it feels best, knee, shin, ankle to begin with. I'll let you know again when we're about halfway through. And this side may feel completely different to the first, so you may end up in a completely different expression, and that's okay. Keep checking in with the body here. Just notice if it's trying to tell you something. about halfway through, so if you want to change up your stretch at all, then go for it. Check in before you move. If you need a little more time, then you can stay. Otherwise, as you feel ready, use the support of the hands and make your way back up. And again, we'll remove the props and maybe give yourself a windshield wiper side to side. Awesome. When you're ready, come and find a seat, any comfortable seated position, and you can sit up off of your bolster if you want a little more height. Now settle yourself here, lengthen the spine, soften the shoulders. And take your left hand, bring the thumb to the inside, and then wrap the fingers around kind of like a fist. Now go very gentle here. We'll find a stretch for the wrist, and at the same time we'll stretch out the neck. But especially with the wrist, just make sure that you're not feeling something super pinchy. If you're already feeling enough of a stress just like this, then that's great. You don't have to do anything further. What we'll do is take maybe right hand to hip or to the side. We'll reach the left arm down, and then imagine that you're reaching the point of the thumb towards you, so the actual wrist is reaching like a little further away. So that's half of it, and then we can add a neck stretch. So you can take the right ear down towards the right shoulder. Now imagine a really long line from the ear all the way down to that left thumb. And imagine you could breathe into that line. And be here for a few deep breaths. Ready with an inhale breath, lift up to center. And just release the left hand a little, take a few gentle circles each direction. Now if the legs are crossed, then switch the cross just to keep things even for the pelvis. We'll set up the second side. So right fingers wrap around the thumb on this side, reach the arm long, and then listen to your body. If it feels okay, tip of the thumb towards you so that the wrist can point away a little bit. And left hand to the hip, to the side, wherever is comfortable. Left ear towards the left shoulder. And again, imagine that long line from the thumb to the ear tip. And breathe there. Awesome. When you're ready, gently bring the head back up to center and release the right thumb. A few circles very gently either direction. And then when you're ready, you might interlace the fingers, maybe roll the hands together a few times. Maybe change the grip and do the same. Backs of the palms press away, stretch out the hands, the wrists. Awesome. And then give the hands a shake out. You can come up off of your prop and we'll come to lie down on the belly. You can have the bolster near the top of the mat, just in case you need it where we're going. Now we're going to get set up a version of Sphinx pose, but for this one we'll use the bolster underneath the chest, so a little extra support for the body. And see where you want it. You can bring it closer towards the belly for a steeper back bend, or closer towards the shoulders for a less steep back bend. So find the place that works best for you, and you can always change that if you need it. Forearms can be parallel or hands together. Neck might stay neutral. You might even lift the chin, the head slightly. You could let it hang heavy if you want. So choose whatever works best for you, whatever enhances the back bend. If there's any other part of the body that needs a little support here, then go for it. Find your breath and settle in. We're about halfway through the shape, so see if you'd like a little more sensation or less, or maybe you're happy exactly where you are. If there's anything you need to change up, then go for it. You are ready to exit the pose. If you're using a bolster, you can push it out in front. Bring it just in front of the mat. We'll set up a last stretch for the shoulders. So for this one, bring the elbows up onto the bolster and palms can be together. And then see where you want the elbows. You can walk them a little further forward, a little closer, or further apart. And then see what it feels to let the head hang kind of in between them. Maybe the forehead is also resting on the same prop. Now fingertips can stay pointing towards the ceiling. If you want to bend the elbows further and bring thumbs towards the back of the neck, then go for it. Breathe here, let the spine be really heavy, let the chest feel really heavy. pose, gently press the elbows down, lift the head up, and then we'll push the bolster out of the way. Lower down for a moment, maybe pause with the forehead on the hands, give the hips a gentle rock side to side. And then when you're ready, any way you like, flip your way onto your back. And once you settle, find your bolster and keep the knees bent, feet roughly underneath them, and then bring the bolster between the legs if you'd like to use it for a twist. Now scoot the hips to the left a few inches and lower the knees down towards the right, and then see what feels best for the arms here. If the left shoulder is lifting a little bit, then that's not a bad thing, but if you want to ground it, you can use a prop there. If you'd rather have the bolster underneath the knees than in between them, then go for that. You exit, especially if you're using a prop, squeeze the legs together, tone the belly, and we'll lift the knees up to center. Now hips to midline, then over to the right a few inches, and then lower the knees down to the left for your second side. If there's anything that needs to adjust here, then go for it. Otherwise, settle in as you feel ready. As you feel ready, squeeze the bolster, tone the belly, lift the knees to center. Hips to midline. You can move your bolster out of the way now. Give the knees a gentle windshield wiper side to side. And then for our final pose, for our rest pose, we're going to take legs up the wall. So if you don't have a wall nearby, then you can use your bolster under the hips and send the legs up towards the ceiling. If you do have a wall, then I would also suggest maybe a soft block or a little rolled up blanket, just something that you can put up against it so that you have a little extra cushioning. It might make it a little easier on the hamstrings as well. And then to set up for this, find a fetal position just up against the wall, bringing your bum as close to the wall as you can. And this will be helpful once the legs go up. So take a moment to set yourself here, and then as you're ready, roll onto your back. Bum roughly on top of whatever prop you're using, and you can send the legs up towards the ceiling. The legs don't have to be all the way straight, so if you prefer to keep a soft bend to the knees, then go for that. If you still have your bolster in reach and you're not using it, there is the option as well to put the bolster on the feet, which will help ground a little bit. So if you want to take that option, then I would maybe take the feet a little further apart, just so it doesn't feel like it's going to wobble and fall on you. You can bend the knees and pin the bolster against the wall and the feet, send it back up. If you have somebody who can help you with this, that might be good too. And then see what arm expression you want. You can release them to the sides, I'm going to take my arms up overhead, so as long as that feels okay for your shoulders, go for it. You could also interlace the hands behind the skull, or any version of this. And check in. If this doesn't feel like a shape that you can rest in comfortably, then choose something else. Be wherever you need to be. If there's anything you need to adjust with the body, the clothing, if you want to remove glasses or hair tie or anything like that, then go for it. When you're ready, settle in. Only when you feel ready to bring your attention back to the body, back to the breath. Maybe fluttering the eyes, wiggling fingers and toes. If you're using a bolster, you might bend the knees just so you can move it off to one side and send the legs back up. Reach the arms up overhead, point the toes and stretch out the body. And then from here, you might collect the knees into the chest and give yourself a squeeze, a gentle rock. And see which side you have the most room on, and you can roll down to that side, pausing for a breath or two. And with the support of the hands, coming up to find any comfortable seated position. Moment to settle the hips, lengthen the spine, maybe palms meet in front of the heart. And taking these last few moments of your practice to check back in. Thank you for sharing your breath and your practice. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for Yin practice today. If you have any questions about anything we did today, feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, enjoy your evening.